is being fired, and that makes it, even weirder because you'd think you'd want a fall guy for this.
I want to bring in Jason Johnson now and Tara Setmeyer so that we can all talk about this, because Jared Kushner, who's Trump's son-in-law, who's kind of running things right now, so he supposedly approves this speech. So Tara, does it seem to you that Melania Trump just went rogue?
I don't think so. She doesn't strike me as the type that goes rogue. I worked for a Reagan speechwriter, Congressman Rohrabacher. I was his communications director for 7 years. He was a Reagan speechwriter for 7 years. So I looked at this whole thing in horror because I know the speechwriting process, especially at this level. It's so carefully combed through, and usually it goes through several edits. And the fact that this should have been a shining moment for the Trump campaign. They've been waiting for Melania's introduction to the world, basically. This was that chance. And it was a blown opportunity because of mistakes that never should have been made. If they had a professional campaign operation, and it looks like they try to do that, but then some forces seem to come in and intervene and turn this back into the amateur operation that it's been so frustrating for the professional politicos to understand.
Here's the sad thing for Melania Trump. She's got to appear here again, especially on Thursday. And this whole thing has become this big national joke. And I'll just show our viewers one example of that.
Melania did it. She found something less original than being a model married to an old billionaire.
Donald Trump was like, Michelle owes Melania an apology for building a time machine and stealing her best lines. Okay?
But at least Donald Trump didn't steal Make America Great Again.
Make America great again.
Whatever. What's the big deal? Hey, what's your problem? What's the big deal?
So Jason, you see where I'm going here. Poor Melania Trump now has to appear Thursday, and I'm sorry, that has to weigh on her mind. She's a human being.
Yeah, and I actually feel really bad for Melania Trump, because the way this campaign has responded to it, deny, this is at like sort of Taylor Swift, Kanye levels. We're like, no, this didn't happen. We have receipts, right? We have the speech from 2008. We know that you sort of lazily didn't use spell check. I mean, I would have failed a student who handed something in like this that was so plagiarized. And the problem is it is put on her shoulders, and all she wanted to do is talk about the man she loved. And I think that the Trump campaign should be embarrassed to put their potential first lady in this kind of position to defend their own disorganization.
And I will say that some sources, said very explicitly to me when talking about how this all came together that Melania was the victim here. We don't know what happened inside, but that's what some people are saying.
Well, there were multiple. The problem again here is that it's the cover-up that's worse than the crime. I mean, as a crisis, they have no crisis communication skills whatsoever in this campaign. They go out, like what Paul Manafort's done for the last 2 days, in embarrassing fashion, insulting the intelligence of the American people as if you can see the frustration in Chris Cuomo's interview there, because it's like we're all crazy and they're not, and they've done this time after time. Speechwriters are the custodians of the messaging for candidates and their surrogates, and so the fact that they didn't even recognize the importance of something like that, and just being consistent with the response, they gave multiple responses for what happened.
The other factor here too,
problem to it.
Donald Trump doesn't have the support of many African Americans, right?
Right.
When you look out into the audience of the Republican National Convention, it's a mostly white audience. Most of the speakers are white, right? So Melania Trump lifted passages from an African-American woman's speech. And that resonates in the African-American community, doesn't it?
I mean, if that's the fantasy that they want to live under. Look, here's the thing. Trump here, I'm an Ohio voter, Trump is at 0% for African Americans in Ohio. That means that, like, Pastor Darrell Scott, who's a surrogate, apparently isn't even voting for him in the polls, right? So that's what we're looking at right now. Lifting a speech from Michelle Obama, I don't care if he knocks dirt off his shoulder like Barack Obama and changes his name and puts on a dashiki. He's not going to magically resonate with African American voters if Donald Trump doesn't come up with some policy that's appealing. Paul Ryan can, Mitt Romney could. You can start by talking to the NAACP, but Trump seems entirely...
Which they did.
Well, yeah,
Romney
exactly.
did that.
Romney did that. Other presidents have. For some reason, Trump seems to want to ignore every single piece of common sense campaign advice that anyone's ever used before.
But if the Trump campaign would say, yes, Melania Trump admires Michelle Obama.
That was my suggestion. I said that yesterday on the show. They could have easily killed this story and said, okay, they know who wrote the speech and who approved it, but they could have said, okay, you know what? we admire Michelle Obama. Despite our policy differences, the story of the Obamas is part of the American dream, and I can relate to that as an immigrant who came here and embraced America, and I felt inspired by her words. You know, that's what they should have done, and it would have been over with. But no, here we are, almost 3 days now later, still talking about this, and that shouldn't be. But unfortunately, it's indicative of the constant missteps of this campaign. It reminds people of, you know, the campaign is a microcosm of how someone would govern,
right.
And this is, you know, a problem. Whether the Trumps can get over this and they can do all this pomp and circumstance and the cosmetic kind of, you know, aspect of this they're trying to put forward can overshadow it, it remains to be seen. But I don't know
and I
if
think
people
they can,
looking at
certainly.
this
They can, certainly. You know,
Yeah.
we have Ivanka Trump, who's going to introduce her father later this week. What a lot of people are worried about is that the cloud over the speech has really potentially hurt him with those women he was trying to reach, who he is struggling with in the polls. They have an opportunity here to move past this over the next couple of days, but we'll have to see how that goes.
Yes, we will. Maeve Reston, Jason Johnson, Tara Setmeyer, thanks to all of you. Still to come in the newsroom, a major shakeup coming to Fox News.